Today we gather to honor the famous and legendary people who have left us, to hold their names with care, and to keep their stories alive. Friend, if remembrance matters to you, please like the video and subscribe so more people can join us in honoring them. Robert A. M. Stern. Robert Arthur Morton. Stern was born on May 23, 1939, in Brooklyn, New York, and died on November 27, 2025, at the age of 86, from complications related to Parkinson's disease in the United States. A towering figure in postmodern and classical architecture, he shaped skylines and campuses, from New York apartment towers to landmark buildings at Yale and Disney. Raised in a middle-class Jewish family, he discovered architecture early and studied at Columbia and then Yale, where mentors helped sharpen his belief that buildings should speak to history as well as function. He kept his private family life carefully shielded from public view, but those close to him often described long-standing, steady relationships at the center of his world. As founder of his own firm and longtime dean of the Yale School of Architecture, he received honors including the 2011 Dry House Prize for Classical Architecture and the Topaz Medallion for Excellence in Architectural Education, recognizing both his buildings and his teaching. Colleagues and former students responded to his death with heartfelt tributes, calling him a bridge between tradition and innovation. His legacy lives in the streets people walk every day, where thoughtful proportions and humane details still quietly teach what good architecture can be. Fuzzy Zoler, Frank Urban. Fuzzy Zoler Jr. was born on November 11, 1951, in New Albany, Indiana, and died on November 27, 2025, at the age of 74 in the United States. Cause of death not publicly disclosed as of November 27, 2025. A down-to-earth yet fiercely competitive professional golfer, he became one of the few players to win the Masters tournament in his first appearance in 1979 and added the U.S. Open title in 1984, securing his place among the greats of the modern era. He grew up in Indiana, the son of a grocer, learning the game on local courses before starring at the University of Houston. Zoler married and raised a family, often describing his wife and children as his grounding force, even when fame and travel pulled him away. His career was not without controversy, notably a racially insensitive remark about Tiger Woods in the late 1990s, for which he publicly apologized and faced significant sponsor backlash, a moment that reshaped how he carried himself in public. Despite that, he remained beloved by many fans for his humor, approachable style, and charitable work through golf events. Fellow players and golf commentators have mourned him as a major champion whose easy smile and quick jokes made tense Sundays feel a little lighter, and whose shot-making still inspires new generations on the practice range. Ann-Margaret Ferrante. Ann-Margaret Ferrante was born on June 26, 1972, in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and died on November 27, 2025, at the age of 53 in Massachusetts, after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. A dedicated American legislator and daughter of a fishing family, she became a forceful advocate for coastal economies, higher education, and working families in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. Growing up on the Gloucester waterfront, she watched her parents and neighbors navigate the fragile balance between tradition and regulation, a childhood that later informed her nuanced approach to fisheries policy and local development. Ferrante rarely placed her private life at the center of her public image, but she often spoke with affection about her family, mentors, and community, stressing that no politician succeeds alone. She earned degrees from Tufts and Suffolk University Law School, and over multiple terms in office, She championed bills that expanded community college access and helped modernize port infrastructure. Community organizations honored her work several times. Though many of those awards were local rather than national, award details not publicly confirmed as of November 27, 2025. After her death, tributes from colleagues across party lines described her as a careful listener, a relentless worker, and a representative who never forgot the working docs that shaped her. Her legacy remains in the students who find new educational paths and in coastal towns that feel just a little more prepared for the future. Jack Shepard. Jack Shepard was born on October 29, 1940, in Leeds, England, and died in hospital on November 24, 2025, in the United Kingdom at the age of 85, following a short illness. An English actor, playwright, and director, he became known for grounded, quietly intense performances on stage and on television, especially as MP Bill Brand in the 1970s and as Detective Superintendent Wycliffe in the mystery series that brought him into millions of living rooms. He grew up in a working-class family in Yorkshire, studied fine art, then trained as an actor in London, blending visual sensitivity with political engagement in his work. Shepard first married Judith Harland in 1965, with whom he had 2 children before they later divorced, a private separation not widely dissected in public. He later married producer Ann Scott, and friends often described their long partnership as one of creative collaboration and mutual protection from the harsher sides of the industry. On stage, he won the Society of London Theatre's Actor of the Year award in 1983 for his role in Glengarry Glen Ross, a performance still studied by younger actors. After news of his death, tributes from theaters, broadcasters, and former castmates praised his generosity in rehearsal rooms and his quiet mentorship of emerging talent. His legacy lives on in script, in recordings, and in the many performers who learned from the patience of his craft. Ian Lees. Ian Lees was born on May 3, 1958, in Australia, and died on November 23, 2025, at the age of 67 in Australia, after suffering a heart attack. As the longtime bass player for the rock band Moving Pictures, he helped power the anthem "What About Me?", a song that became woven into Australian popular culture in the early 1980s and echoed for decades on radio and at sporting events. Raised in a music-loving family, he began playing bass as a teenager, drawn to the low-end groove that held songs together from the shadows. Lees married and built a family life that he kept mostly out of the headlines, but fellow musicians often spoke of the warmth of his backstage conversations and the pride with which he talked about his loved ones. His career extended beyond moving pictures into country and blues projects, touring with artists such as Melinda Schneider and forming the blues band Chasin' the Train. While he did not collect shelves of mainstream awards, his work contributed to ARIA-nominated recordings and to a song that won long-term public affection, a different kind of trophy. After his death, tributes from bandmates and fans on social media described him as both a groove maker and a kind, reliable friend on the road too. His legacy lives in every bar band that still covers What About Me, and in the reminder that sometimes the player at the back of the stage is the one who makes the whole song feel right. Skye Gingal. Skye Gingal was born on September 6, 1963, in Sydney, Australia, and died on November 22, 2025, at the age of 62 in London, England, after living with Merkel cell carcinoma, a rare and aggressive form of skin cancer. Known as the Chef, who brought a painterly sense of color and seasonality to modern British cooking, she first gained wide attention at Petersham Nursery's cafe, where her delicate garden-driven dishes earned a Michelin star and helped change the way London thought about casual fine dining. The daughter of Australian television executive Bruce Gingal, she grew up around both media and food, eventually training in kitchens across Europe before settling in the United Kingdom. She later married and raised 2 daughters, speaking often about the way motherhood shaped her understanding of nourishment and hospitality. At Spring, her restaurant in Somerset House, she became a leader in sustainable sourcing and zero-waste kitchen practices, winning multiple British Restaurant Awards, award details not publicly confirmed as of November 27, 2025. After her death, chefs and food writers across Australia and Britain shared tributes to her calm leadership and poetic plates. Her legacy lives on in every restaurant that treats vegetables, herbs, and simple ingredients with quiet, luminous respect. Alan Moffett. Alan George Moffett was born on November 10, 1939, in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, and died on November 22, 2025. In Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, at the age of 86, after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. A towering figure in Australian motorsport, he became a 4-time winner of the Bathurst 1000 and a 4-time Australian Touring Car Championship winner, famous for piloting Ford Falcons and Mazdas with a fierce, disciplined style that thrilled crowds. Raised in Canada before his family relocated to Australia, he worked his way from local circuits to international endurance races, showing a meticulous attention to car setup that made him a favorite of engineers and fans alike. Moffett married and had children, and while his family kept their privacy, public appearances often showed a gentleman behind the steely racing visor. His rivalry and occasional partnership with fellow driver Peter Brock became the stuff of sporting folklore. And in 1999, he was inducted into the V8 Supercars Hall of Fame, a recognition of both his victories and his influence on generations of drivers. Following his death, tributes from drivers, teams, and commentators across the world of racing described him as a consummate professional who blended aggression with respect. His legacy endures every time a touring car dives bravely into a corner, chasing a perfect lap on the mountain. Jellybean Johnson Garfield. Jellybean Johnson was born on November 19, 1955 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and died on November 21, 2025, at the age of 69 in Robbinsdale, Minnesota, cause of death not publicly disclosed as of November 27, 2025. A key architect of the Minneapolis sound, he first came to fame as the drummer and later guitarist for The Time, the funk band closely associated with Prince, before moving into production and session work that helped define 1980s and 1990s R&B. Johnson grew up in a working-class family, teaching himself drums as a teenager and eventually joining the tight-knit community of Minneapolis musicians who rehearsed in small studios and basements before exploding onto international stages. He married and raised a family, often saying in interviews that long stretches on the road made home life precious, and that his spouse and children were the anchor that kept him grounded. Over the years, he played with or produced for artists such as Alexander O'Neal and Janet Jackson, contributing to hit records even when his name stayed in the liner notes. Although he never collected major solo awards, he was part of projects honored by Grammy and American Music Award attention. Award details not publicly confirmed as of November 27, 2025. After his death, fellow musicians and fans in Minnesota held concerts and online tributes celebrating his groove, his mentorship, and his generosity to younger players. His legacy lives in the tight drum patterns and sharp guitar stabs that continue to echo through funk, pop, and modern R&B. David Cassidy. David Bruce. Cassidy was born on April 12, 1950, in New York City, and died on November 21, 2017, at the age of 67, in a hospital near Fort Lauderdale, Florida, from liver failure following years of health complications. An actor and singer whose boyish charm and clear tenor voice turned him into one of the defining teen idols of the 1970s, he became globally famous as Keith Partridge on the television series The Partridge Family, then parlayed that fame into a successful solo music career. Born to actors Jack Cassidy and Evelyn Ward, he spent part of his childhood with relatives in New Jersey before moving to Los Angeles as a young adult to pursue acting, carrying both the advantages and pressures of a show business family name. Cassidy married 3 times and had 2 children, and he spoke candidly in later interviews about the strain that relentless touring, substance abuse, and fame placed on his relationships, including well-publicized DUI arrests and financial troubles. His 1970s concerts drew crowds that sometimes rivaled Beatlemania, and his albums, such as Cherish, sold millions of copies, earning him awards from music magazines and television programs. Award details not publicly confirmed as of November 27, 2025. After his death, former co-stars, fellow musicians, and devoted fans shared remembrances of a man whose talent was matched by vulnerabilities he did not always hide. His legacy endures in the warmth of his recordings, in the countless musicians who cite him as an influence, and in the reminder that even bright fame carries a human cost. Ron Glass. Ronald Earl Glass was born on July 10, 1945, in Evansville, Indiana, and died on November 25, 2016, at the age of 71 in Los Angeles, California, from respiratory failure. A versatile television actor with a precise comic touch and a quiet dignity, he became widely known for playing Detective Ron Harris on the sitcom Barney Miller, and later the serene, mysterious Shepard book on the science fiction series Firefly. Raised in a working-class family, he attended the University of Evansville, where a drama teacher encouraged him to act, setting him on a path from stage roles in Minneapolis and St. Louis to guest appearances on major network series. Glass never married, and friends often described his life as centered on close circles of friends, spiritual practice as a devout Buddhist, and a steady commitment to charitable causes. Over his career, he received several honors, including a Primetime Emmy nomination for his work on Barney Miller, award details not publicly confirmed as of November 27, 2025, and he was frequently praised in reviews for bringing nuance and warmth to even small roles. After his passing, tributes from castmates and creators like Joss Whedon highlighted not only his craft, but his kindness on set and his habit of listening more than he spoke. His legacy persists in the characters who still feel alive on screen, and in the example he set of professionalism joined with humility. Florence Henderson. Florence Agnes Henderson was born on February 14, 1934, in Dale, Indiana, and died on November 24, 2016, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 82 from heart failure, with her family and friends gathered at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in her final hours. She was the youngest of 10 children of tobacco sharecropper Joseph Henderson and his wife Elizabeth, growing up in a large Catholic household where hymns, school plays, and church gatherings encouraged her to sing from an early age. After studying at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, she worked on Broadway and in early television, but her life changed when she was cast as Carol Brady on the sitcom The Brady Bunch, a role that made her an enduring symbol of warmth, humor, and stability in American popular culture. She married Ira Bernstein in 1956, with whom she had 4 children before their divorce in 1985, and later married hypnotherapist John Kappas, a supportive partner until his death in 2002. Henderson hosted talk and variety shows, appeared on live specials, and joined her Brady castmates in receiving a TV Land Pop Culture Award in 2004, recognizing the show's lasting influence on television families. Colleagues and friends remembered her as unfailingly kind to crews, welcoming to fans, and deeply professional. And her legacy lives on whenever viewers return to the gentle lessons and quiet optimism that The Brady Bunch continues to offer new generations of families. Larry Martin Hagman was born on September 21, 1931, in Fort Worth, Texas, and died on November 23, 2012, in Dallas, Texas, at the age of 81 from complications of acute myeloid leukemia at Medical City Dallas Hospital, with family and close friends nearby during the Thanksgiving holiday. The son of renowned stage and screen star Mary Martin and accountant Benjamin Hagman, he grew up between Texas and New York, spending time backstage, living with relatives after his parents' separation, and briefly attending Bard College before serving in the United States Air Force and working in regional theater. Early success came with the sitcom I Dream of Jeannie, but his defining role arrived as ruthless oil baron J.R. Ewing on Dallas, where his mix of charm, menace, and sly humor turned the Who Shot J.R. cliffhanger into a global television event and made him one of the most recognizable faces in the world. He married Swedish designer Maj Axelsson in 1954, and though he faced well-documented struggles with alcoholism and underwent a life-saving liver transplant in 1995, the couple remained together and supportive throughout his treatments. Hagman earned multiple Golden Globe and Emmy nominations, a TV Land Award, and critical praise for reinventing what a charismatic television villain could be, influencing later generations of complex anti-heroes. After his death, co-stars and international broadcasters paid tribute, describing him as a generous colleague who relished entertaining people, and his enduring legacy can be seen in every layered, morally ambiguous television character who followed in J.R. Ewing's footsteps. Pat Morita Noriyuki. Pat Morita was born on June 28, 1932, in Isleton, California, and died on November 24, 2005, in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the age of 73 from kidney failure, following a urinary tract and gallbladder bacterial infection at his home. As the son of Japanese immigrant parents Tamaru and Momoe Morita, he spent much of his childhood in hospitals because of spinal tuberculosis, and then in World War II-era incarceration camps, experiences that exposed him to hardship and prejudice, yet also taught him how humor could create small pockets of relief. After recovering, he helped in his family's restaurant and later reinvented himself as a stand-up comedian on the West Coast circuit, eventually moving into television with memorable roles on Sanford and Son and Happy Days. His life changed when he was cast as Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid, a performance that earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor and gave audiences around the world a mentor whose gentle wisdom, inventive training methods, and quiet strength made him a cultural touchstone for perseverance and balance. Morita married 3 times and had 2 daughters, and although he struggled with alcoholism at points in his life, Friends and colleagues recalled his generosity toward younger Asian American performers who sought advice and encouragement in an industry with limited opportunities. Beyond the Karate Kid films, he voiced characters in projects such as Disney's Mulan and appeared in independent dramas that explored Japanese American history, widening the range of roles available to actors of Asian descent. His legacy endures wherever a teacher figure helps a young person discover their own courage, and in the many tributes that remember him as a pioneer who turned personal pain into performances that still comfort and inspire. Tom Haller. Thomas Frank Haller was born on June 23, 1937, in Lockport, Illinois, and died on November 26, 2004, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 67 after a prolonged illness linked to West Nile virus, a viral infection he fought during the final months of his life. One of three brothers in a sports-minded Midwestern family, with his brother Bill later becoming a respected Major League Baseball umpire, he excelled in both football and baseball at the University of Illinois before choosing the diamond and signing a professional contract. Haller made his Major League debut with the San Francisco Giants in 1961 and quickly earned a reputation as one of the National League's premier catchers of the 1960s, combining a strong throwing arm, smart pitch calling, and reassuring leadership for pitching staffs in San Francisco with the Los Angeles Dodgers and later the Detroit Tigers. He married his wife, Janine, and raised a family largely outside the spotlight, yet teammates often spoke of how welcoming their home was to younger players who needed a sense of stability during long seasons on the road. A three-time All-Star and later a coach, front office executive, and general manager for the Chicago White Sox, Haller helped shape rosters and mentored players and staff, bringing the same calm presence he once showed behind the plate to the front office. After his death, tributes from former teammates, baseball historians, and fans emphasized his professionalism, humility, and the respect he earned across rival clubs. And his example continues to live in the catchers and executives who value steady leadership over showmanship. Billy Bird Sellon was born on February 28, 1908, in Pocatello, Idaho, and died on November 27, 2002, in Granada Hills, California, at the age of 94, after several years of Alzheimer's disease. An American actress and comedian, she was discovered in an orphanage as a child and taken into vaudeville, where she learned to hold a crowd with song, patter, and quick timing. She moved from stage to cabaret, then into film and television, becoming one of those familiar faces audiences felt they knew in projects like 16 Candles, Home Alone, and the sitcom Dear John. In her personal life, she married musician Edwin Sellon, raised 3 children, and built a partnership remembered for practical support and affection until his death in 1966. During the Vietnam era, she toured with her own show to entertain American troops, a gift of laughter and music that veterans remembered decades later. She did not collect major awards, yet colleagues spoke of her as a complete professional who arrived prepared, lifted every ensemble she joined, and showed that character actors could leave a lasting legacy through reliability, generosity, and the steady courage of being funny in difficult times. John Bordley. Rawls was born on February 21, 1921, in Baltimore, Maryland, and died on November 24, 2002, in Lexington, Massachusetts, at the age of 81 from heart failure. An American political philosopher, he was the son of attorney William Lee Rawls and community advocate Anna Abel Stump, and grew up in a family that treated questions of justice and public life as serious conversation, not abstract theory. Childhood illness, and the deaths of 2 brothers left him introspective and gentle in manner. After serving in the United States Army in the Pacific during World War II, he returned to Princeton, completed his doctorate, and in 1949 married Margaret Warfield Fox, with whom he shared 4 children and a long, steady marriage. His landmark book, A Theory of Justice, in 1971, followed by Political Liberalism, reshaped modern debates about equality, liberty, and democracy, and honors such as the National Humanities Medal in 1999 recognized his influence. By the time he died at home in Massachusetts, his ideas about justice as fairness and the veil of ignorance had become touchstones for judges, students, and citizens who were trying to imagine fairer institutions, and tributes remembered him as a quiet scholar whose work gave ordinary people a new language for their hopes about a more decent society. Now, friend, let us spend a little longer with the person whose influence reached the furthest in today's remembrance. Pat Morita's life and work invite a closer look because he carried so much history and hope inside a single, unforgettable performance. As Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid, he offered not just a martial arts mentor, but a portrait of grief, discipline, and unexpected tenderness, drawing on his experiences as a Japanese American who survived childhood illness and the trauma of wartime incarceration. His pauses, careful phrasing, and dry humor turned what could have been a stereotype into a fully human figure whose wisdom reached children and adults across cultures. Away from the camera, he spoke frankly about hardship, comedy clubs, and the grind of typecasting, and his Academy Award nomination for the role signaled that Hollywood could recognize depth in characters who did not fit its usual mold. Younger actors of Asian descent have often named him as proof that they, too, could be complex heroes and mentors on screen. Even today, when a viewer repeats, "Wax on, wax off," with a smile and a quiet respect, they are honoring the craft of a performer who believed that kindness and resilience could share the same frame, and whose gentle presence helped change how millions of people imagined strength. In closing, friend, thank you for spending this time in quiet remembrance, walking through these lives and the echoes they left behind. If these stories moved you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so others can join us in honoring them. You are warmly invited to leave a comment about which life touched you most, or who you hope to see remembered in future episodes, so that together we can keep these stories living in our hearts and conversations.